many of you guys have been to Smoke? Yeah. It's worthy of an applause for sure. So this is Barry Sorkin of Smoke. He's going to do a demo of Gumbo. And while he's demoing his special Gumbo for tonight, I'm going to ask him questions and interrupt him constantly and make sure that he gives us good content, all right? So I'll ask you about all the history stuff while you're cooking.
Yeah.
What he's going to make a signature version of his Gumbo with smoked duck, andouille sausage, tasso ham. So if you're a vegan, you're going to love this dish, all right? So without further ado, let's welcome Barry Sorkin of Smoke Chicago. So this is pretty loose format. I'm going to let you kind of go through your recipe, and then I'll ask you questions and interrupt you awkwardly.
Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. Thanks, everybody, for coming. It's great to be here. I was at one of these last month, and Chef Sandoval made some great food, so I'm just a little bit intimidated, so I hope you'll cut me a little bit of slack. I have a bit of a different background, I guess, than a lot of chefs that probably present here. And so for me, like presenting to a group of people that are either culinarians or aspiring culinarians or foodies, it's candidly a little intimidating. I don't actually have much of a culinary background. When I opened Smoke, that was a career change for me. I was working for an IT consulting company, and I was sort of a backyard cook, and mostly self-taught, although I did take some classes at Kendall for a little while. I didn't get very far with it. But I do have a little bit of formal training, but mostly kind of a self-taught backyard cook. So I kind of come at this from a different direction than a lot of people who are, working either doing finer dining or have more formalized culinary training.
So you want to go through the list of ingredients real quick?
Well, let me first start, if I can, with how it is that I found myself cooking gumbo in the middle of a heat wave for everybody. So when Joanne called me, it was probably 6 months ago, like in the dead of winter, and she said, "Hey, can you do a culinary demo?" And I said, "Well, I'm not really a culinary guy. I'm like, I'm a pitmaster, but I do barbecue, and that's sort of hard to demonstrate in this format. I mean, unless you guys want to spend 15 hours with me, I can't really cook a brisket for you." And so she said, "Well, that's all right. Just tell me what you would cook for your family." And I said, "Well, I hate cooking for my family. They're terrible. And I love them all dearly. But my wife's vegan. That's not really my department. I've got kids with food allergies and fussy tastes. And so, while my kids think of me as a chef, they're always sort of marveling at how I don't really know what to make for them on a daily basis. So I didn't have a good answer for her there either. And she said, "Well, just tell me what you like to cook. Why are we making this difficult?" And I'm like, "Well, I like to make gumbo." And she's like, "Okay, we'll make gumbo." And it never occurred to us, okay, it's going to be, coming up on the beginning of July in Chicago. It's probably going to be 110 degrees. But, so I was a little self-conscious about doing this as we made our way here in the heat wave. But I was thinking about it. New Orleans gets pretty hot, and they eat gumbo year-round. So just think of this as like a lesson in authenticity. Let's just go with that. Okay.
Also, thank God for central air conditioning, right? And electricity in general. Can we thank Benjamin Franklin for that?
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes,
right?
indeed. And
he hung a fucking kite with a key, dude.
He did.
Now we have central air.
Yes.
And now we can eat gumbo in the heat. It's all good.
So we do a gumbo at the restaurant, and what I like about cooking gumbo is that it can be anything. You can take almost any ingredients that you have, and you can make a version of gumbo. Truth be told, if I wanted to for my wife, I could make a vegan gumbo. I wouldn't want to do that, and I don't want her to know that I can do that. But you can do this with wild mushrooms and vegetable stock, and you can make a really good vegetarian gumbo. At the restaurant, we do a barbecue gumbo, and if I'm being totally honest, it's kind of what we do with leftover barbecue. I don't want to serve second-day ribs or second-day pulled pork, but those ribs and pulled pork and sausage and chicken make a really good gumbo. And so we, at the end of every night, we pull the ribs off the bone, we save the bones, we save the meat, we use the bones to sort of enrich the stock, and we cut up our sausage, we pull the chicken, so all of that gets used. And that's sort of the beauty of gumbo, and don't quote me on this, I think that's sort of the history of gumbo. Gumbo and jambalaya, these are things that are made traditionally in New Orleans at the beginning of the week after they've gone through all this stuff on the weekend and they have all these leftovers. What do we do? Let's make some gumbo. So, you know, what's nice about it is the same basic method for any kind of gumbo you want to make. What I'm going to make for you tonight is gumbo with smoked duck, andouille sausage, and tasso ham. Yeah, it's very meat heavy. The one we do at the restaurant is our Texas sausage. It's chicken. It's pulled rib meat. And I mean, it honestly, if I'm being completely candid, it eats very similarly. This is a little richer, got a little bit more smokiness to it. So what I've done here tonight, I'll talk you through some of the ingredients since that was a long way to get to the answer to your question.
Yeah, that was 7 minutes ago, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. They told me to make this, 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
40,
Please.
whatever.
Tell us more about your childhood.
So I've got some smoked duck here, and I've got these sort of lined up in the order that I'm going to use them, so forgive the out of sequence. So this is some smoked duck. I did this with leg quarters. Easy to get. They're not super expensive because everyone wants the breast, but you can get the leg quarters for relatively inexpensively. Seasoned with just salt and pepper. Put in the smoker with some apple wood for about 2 hours, 2.5, but really what I was looking for was texture and temperature. So I want them upward of 175, and I want them to start to be easy to pull apart. Yeah, like you don't want it to fall apart. You don't want it to like turn into pulp in your gumbo, but you would, you want it to have that sort of like soft, easy to eat texture. You could do this with chicken. I wouldn't recommend doing it with duck breast meat because that's a very different texture. Duck breast meat is much better. Cooked medium rare, and it's got that sort of like almost steak-like texture. That wouldn't work as well in gumbo. But, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want. That's just sort of my preference. So I've got some smoked duck. On this end, I've got some tasso ham. I did not make this. This is from, both this and the andouille sausage here are from Paulina Market. They do a great job.
Real quick, can you explain what tasso ham is?
Yeah, it's like a spiced Cajun ham. It's just a smoke. I believe it's made from pork butt, if I'm not mistaken. Will you back me on that? It is. It's made from pork butt, so it's got a nice, fatty, marbly structure. It's really rich. It's really flavorful. It's cured, then smoked, and then spiced with Cajun spices. So it really adds a ton of flavor. You'll notice as I go through the ingredients, what is not here is a shaker full of Cajun seasoning. I would probably have some Cajun seasoning to give it that flavor, but with the andouille sausage and the tasso ham, it's going to provide plenty of that flavor base. So moving along, I've got some oil and some flour. That's going to be our roux. I'll talk quite a bit about the roux because that is the most essential thing to gumbo. You can make it with vegetables, you can make it with meat, but what you can't make it without is the roux. And the roux for gumbo is unique. I mean, we use roux in a lot of things, obviously. Your bechamels, a lot of the basic mother sauces, we use it as a thickener in gravy. But when you make it for gumbo, you really have to sort of take it to the next level. Usually what we're working with are much lighter color roux, but for a gumbo, you're trying to get a really, really dark roux. And I'll talk a little bit about how I do that. Okay.
So first step.
So the first step, and it's not necessarily the first step. I'm going to do it first tonight. I'm going to talk about the roux, and I'm going to kind of show you how we make one. So, as I mentioned, this is like the foundation of a gumbo is a really, really dark roux. I use equal parts by weight of fat and flour. This is just regular vegetable oil. I wouldn't recommend using butter for this, just because because we're going to take this so dark, the risk is burning it. And some of you guys who've made roux know that once you burn a roux, there's no turning back. You can't fix it. You got to start over. And to do a really dark roux like the one we're going to do, if you're doing it on the stovetop, takes probably 45 minutes to an hour. So if you burn it, that's another hour you got to spend. So I've got a great tip for how to avoid that, and I'll get to. But for today, I'll just kind of show you how we get this started. So you can kind of see it. I don't want to
burn people.
Burn people. I just want people to see. This is a very light roux. Can you let me see it?
This is for a camera.
Yeah. Yes.
It looks like thick ramen broth. All right. It looks like a pork base.
So if we were going to continue with this to try to make a dark roux for gumbo, we would keep doing this for about an hour. And you would get to a point where it starts to get really, really dark, and you start to go, am I done? Is it done yet? Am I going to burn it? And there's a very short window between the time it gets to the right color and the time that it burns. So like this process that I'm showing you right now always makes me very nervous, and it gives me stress, and I don't want stress. So I have a way to do this that's better, because the color that we're looking for is like this.
2 hours later.
Yeah. Everybody see that? So on the stove top, that's about an hour at a pretty high flame. But here's how I do this, and here's how I did this batch. I do it in the oven. It takes much longer, but it's passive. I can put it in the oven, I can stir it every 30 minutes, and after about 4 hours, it's that. And and I've never burnt one that way. And so for me, like I like the idea of passive time. This can be done days, weeks, months in advance. This will stay for as long as you want it to stay, right? This will never go bad. So like if, yeah. 350. This is 350, yeah. So this was about 4 hours, but you can do this. Like if you know you're gonna make gumbo next weekend and you're home one afternoon, just put it in the oven, stir it every 30 minutes, and then just keep this for Sunday when you're making gumbo. Yeah, exactly.
Ronco.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think I learned that from Alton Brown. Like, I don't think I didn't invent that, but it's a great tip. That's what we do at the restaurant. We make a batch whenever someone's got some time available and there's oven space available, and then we just have it.
There's always like 50 ways to do certain things.
Yeah.
They're like hacks, so that's a great tip.
So I'm going to set that aside for the moment, and what I'm going to do in this, so let's pretend that we just finished our roux, putting it aside. So what I'm going to do as my first step to assembling the gumbo is I want to take my tasso and my andouille, and I want to sear those, just to give them. I want to kind of render the fat a little bit. I want to bring the flavor out. I want to cook it down so that when so it's got like a nice browned exterior. So I'm just gonna get it started with a little bit of vegetable oil, just so I'm not throwing it into a dry pan.
So while we're waiting for that to heat up, why barbecue? According to the
scripted questions, well, I mean, are we talking barbecue or are we talking gumbo?
We're talking barbecue, straight up.
Why barbecue? I mean, why not barbecue?
Fair, that's a great answer.
Always barbecue. What
kind of style? Like is it Texas? Is it Memphis? Is it Missouri? Like what's your preference?
I like it all. I will say I'm partial to Texas barbecue. It's my favorite style. I think it's the most pure style. Like Texas barbecue is all about smoking meat, and nothing else really matters. Like there are places I can point you to in Texas where they won't give you sauce, and they'll mock you if you ask for it. It's like the brisket is seasoned with salt and pepper. It's smoked over oak, and that's what you get. Take it or leave it, And I sort of love the purity of that, and it's great. It's amazing what salt, pepper, and smoke can do. So I really like that. No disrespect to any other regions or styles. There's great places in Memphis. There's great places in Kansas City. But like, if I have to pick a favorite region, it's Texas.
Nice. And then, do you do anything with like the Chicago style of like aquarium smoking, like the South Side, like Lems?
So we don't. Like it's funny, when we opened, we kind of went out of our way to not be that, and I love all those places.
Yeah.
So like, it's not that I don't want to be like those guys.
In case you don't know what fond is like the little bits stuck on the bottom of the pan that makes things awesomely delicious. And when you deglaze it, it's kind of a two-step process thing, right?
Yeah. So like that's the stuff that like my mom, if she saw that on the pan, she'd like be scraping it off and like throwing it in the garbage so that the food didn't taste like that. But I'm like, no. Now that once I learned how to cook, I'm like, oh my God, she would just throw that out.
Let's get a cup of wine, deglaze.
Yeah.
So do you normally serve like smoked duck at Smoke or?
We don't. Okay. I just thought I'd do something a little different for the demo. I mean, we like I said, we do a lot of chicken, we do a lot of sausage, we do a lot of ribs. Those all together make a really good gumbo.
Do you have sauce at your restaurant?
Sauce?
Yeah, for your barbecue?
We do. We do. We actually just started bottling it, so
hell yeah.
It is available. I should have brought some. This is why I'm
Where are you located? That's an important thing to ask, right? Where's your restaurant at?
We are at 3800 North Pulaski. We're a little small place. Currently BYOB. Actually, we're going to stay BYOB, but we are working on getting a liquor license to actually have some for like 18 years. We're finally getting around to a liquor license.
Better late than never.
Better late than never.
It's also right by the Blue Line, so if you guys don't want to drive, you could just walk from the Blue Line, Irving Park stop, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You guys smell that all right? Maybe smell it? Feel free to walk by and take a smell.
A drive-by smell, as they say.
Yes. So normally to deglaze, you'd either add some wine or some stock or something like that, which we will eventually do. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these vegetables, the Holy Trinity, because they will release water as soon as you start cooking them. And so we're going to kind of use that to deglaze. So
are you browning your vegetables at this point?
I don't really want them brown. I just want them soft.
A little translucent?
Yeah, they're going to get a little color from that fond, but that's different from, color from like and browning and sauteing. So yeah, really what we're trying to do is sweat them so that they become soft. We cut these pretty small, so they're going to cook very, very quickly. You can cut them bigger. It doesn't matter. You just have to take a little bit longer with them then.
Also, when you're cooking at home, if you see fond, do not throw it away. Deglaze it. Just add like a tablespoon of vinegar, some stock, a beer, wine, even water, whatever. Don't let that go to waste. It's all flavor.
It is.
And cooking, you can't see it, but the vegetables are picking up all the fond that was left behind from the protein, and it's now flavoring all the vegetables and cooking it all together and making it that much more cohesive, flavor-wise.
The vegetables are good. I think they're soft. The garlic is fragrant. That's what I'm looking for. Everything is good. So I'm going to add just a little bit of the broth right now. Oops. First, I'm going to spill a little. And
for the homies.
What's that?
So you poured some out for the homies.
Yes, that's right. So I didn't pour all of it in. What I want to do is I just want a little bit of liquid in there when I incorporate the roux. Because if I put the roux in the pan that's drier, like again, even though I've got all those other things in it, I'm still at risk of burning and scorching it. And like a dark roux like this is, it's just minutes away from burning. So it's like I want to make sure I'm not putting it in a dry pan. So I'm going to add all this roux. And I don't know if you guys, we didn't really talk about this, but the longer and the darker a roux is, the less thickening power it has. So like a blonde roux will thicken a lot more liquid to a certain consistency than a dark roux will. So just be aware, it adds more flavor, but it has less thickening power. So this is gonna probably simmer on the stove for an hour, hour and a half, something along those lines. But let's pretend that that's happened, TV magic. So that's simmering. It smells good. The kitchen is, is very happy. Now I'm gonna add sausage and tasso back in here.
Also, medium heat when you're home cooking is your best friend.
You can start pulling that.
How many home cooks think that they just have to keep their pan on blast? If it's burning, just take it off the heat. It's okay. Or lower the heat. You don't have to keep it on high. That's why there's a dial. So we're getting close to having this completely built. It's going to need some time on the stove, obviously. But what I would just want to say, if you're using chicken or duck, as I am today, like anything that can easily shred, like we have to do this with the chicken that we do, even rib meat to a lesser extent. You don't want to put it back in the broth too soon, because it'll start to get really pulpy. Like it'll start to break down, and at least I want, like the meat to be in chunks. When I get a spoon with some meat in it, I don't want it to just feel like it's pulpy and thick. I want it to feel like I've got a really nice broth base. I've got a lot of flavor in that gumbo from the broth from the roux, and then I've got these chunks of meat that have their own textures, flavors, character, and like the spoon is like all of that put together. So if you add the meats too soon, they will just start to break down and kind of become homogeneous. So it's important to have that bite.
Yeah,
correct?
Exactly. So again, we're going to pretend that this has had some time, like it's all coming together. You don't want gumbo. I don't want gumbo to be like goopy. You want it to be kind of brothy, but have some body to it. So Corey's up here scooping some out for samples. A couple things to just talk about since we didn't touch on any of the thickeners that sometimes people use. So a lot of times people will use okra. If you were using okra, you would add that at the time that you're adding all the meats back in. You don't want to put it in too early because it can get really slimy and kind of gross. I chose not to do okra just because it's kind of divisive. Some people really hate it, and I'm like, well, you hate to have a group of 100 and half of them don't want to eat it. So, but the other thing people use, which we have here tonight, is it's called filé powder. You guys familiar with filé powder? It's made from sassafras leaves, and it's also a thickener. And so people use this in New Orleans for their gumbo. It's usually served on the side. It can be added to the pot, but once it's off the heat. You don't want to heat it because the same thing will happen. It'll start to get this sort of slimy texture to it. Sometimes it's tough. You can do it with, like, if you got leftover rotisserie chicken from the grocery store. I mean, that's the beauty of gumbo. You can use any and all leftovers in it, so.
Also, another pro tip, if you use rotisserie chicken, you could roast the bones and use it for stock.
Yeah.
A couple times.
For sure. Yeah. Oh. Oh.
You can freeze it if you don't want to make it right out the gate. Yeah.
Hey, two things you never throw away: chicken bones and shrimp shells.
Let's give them a round of applause for the demo.